Look at you. Every single one of you, sitting there like you've already figured out the punchline. That kind of nerve. That kind of beautiful, reckless confidence. Oh, you magnificent little arsonists. I'm genuinely delighted to be in your company today. So, everyone's whispering, everyone's squirming. Nobody, and I mean nobody, can put a name to what you just did. And that tickles me. You've started a rumor about yourself without saying a single word, just by breathing differently. Just by walking into rooms like you own the deed and the mortgage and the little welcome mat on the front porch. You've become a riddle wrapped in a shrug, and every busybody with a theory is losing sleep over it. That riddle, by the way, it's echoing. Through hallways you haven't visited, through conversations you weren't invited to, through the skulls of people who thought, genuinely thought, they had your whole biography memorized. And now the pages are rearranging themselves and the fonts changed and nobody brought their reading glasses. Delicious. Here's what happened. And honestly, you probably didn't clock it yourself. You were off in your own little laboratory, tinkering, following some internal hum that only dogs and geniuses can hear. And somewhere between Tuesday and the apocalypse, you cracked something open, something shifted, and people noticed. They're not noticing the way you notice a new haircut. They're noticing the way you notice the floor is suddenly lava. With alarm, with genuine sweaty, wide-eyed alarm. Because whatever you just pulled, it shattered their little instruction manual for how the universe is supposed to behave. Let's get specific, shall we? You've been in a season of, how do I put this? Magnificent isolation. The chosen kind. The kind where something inside you grabbed you by the collar and said, sit down, shut up, and pay attention to yourself. And you listened. You actually listened. Most people hear that voice and turn the music up louder. You turned everything off. You've been sitting with yourself the way a jeweler sits with an uncut stone, studying every angle, seeing the flaws and deciding which ones are actually features, doing the kind of deep, brutal, internal surgery that would send most people screaming out of the operating room. And while you were down there in your own catacombs, rearranging the furniture in your psyche, the people around you started feeling a weather change. Something in the atmosphere got electric. They can't name it, can't bottle it, can't Google it, but they feel it the way animals feel an earthquake 40 minutes before the ground starts dancing. And they want answers. See, they think you found a cheat code. They're convinced you stumbled into some VIP entrance that the rest of the population doesn't have a lanyard for. Because in their world, their neat, boring, paint-by-numbers world, the only way somebody levels up the way you're leveling up is by gaming the system, by having some plug, some back door, some secret handshake they weren't taught. And here's the comedy of it. They're half right. You do know something they don't. But it's not a hack. It's not a download. It's not something a guru whispered to you at a retreat while you were eating overpriced quinoa. It's something you've been soaking in, living through, digesting one raw, uncooked day at a time. Wait, before we go any further, let me ask you something. Why so serious? You're acting like you're the only one who's been shredded by this world. My book, The Evolution of the Anomaly, shows you how to turn that pain into a lethal weapon. 73 pages of pure, raw evolution. Link in the description. Keep that tab open. Let's dive back into the real meat of this. Let's talk about weight. The real kind. You've been hauling something. You've been in a situation where people looked at you and saw someone you've never been. They looked at you through their own cracked windshields, all those smudges and scratches and dead bugs, and they told you that's your reflection. They projected their own grainy footage onto your screen and called it a documentary. And those judgments? They had absolutely nothing to do with you. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. And maybe for a while you bought it. Maybe you thought, well, if everybody's seeing the same thing, maybe that blurry image really is me. Because that's the trap. We look to other people for a mirror, and when they hand us back a funhouse version, stretched here, shrunken there, nose like a trumpet, we squint and go, yeah, I guess that's me. We absorb it. We wear it like a costume we didn't order. But here's what solitude does. Here's what happens when you unplug from the chorus of everybody else's opinions and sit in the quiet. You get to look at yourself without the filter, without the commentary track, without the 27 unsolicited narrators. And when you actually do that, really do it, not the Instagram version of doing it, you see the gap. You see that their projection, their little movie about who you are, has as much to do with you as a weather report has to do with the moon. So you've been in the lab, transmuting, taking every setback, every failure, every humiliation, every night that tasted like pennies and battery acid, and you've been cooking it down into something potent. You're not just talking about turning poison into perfume. You're doing it. You're standing in the furnace, and the furnace is wondering why you're not screaming. And the spectators, oh, the spectators, the ones who had you pegged, the ones who circled your name on the will never amount to anything roster. They're watching this metamorphosis happen in real time, and their brains are buffering. How could they process it? You're operating on a bandwidth they can't even tune into. You're not explaining yourself. You're just moving. And in a world where everybody wants to narrate their own highlight reel and justify every pivot and broadcast every micro decision, your silence is the loudest thing in the room. You built a mystery by simply refusing to advertise. And people react to mystery the way moths react to a porch light, frantic, confused, slightly singed. Because here's the real kicker. You caught something. You spotted something. You saw behind a curtain that other people didn't even know was hanging there. There are people in your orbit who are wearing masks, performing friendship, performing loyalty, performing concern, while quietly rearranging the furniture behind your back. And you saw straight through every last one of them. You didn't blow the whistle. You didn't make a scene. You just stepped back. And from that distance, everything came into focus like adjusting a pair of binoculars. Now they know you see them. And that, oh, that's the part that's making their skin crawl. Because you didn't attack. You didn't accuse. You just moved in a way that can't be reversed. They can't debate it. They can't reason their way around it. They can't convince you that what you saw with your own eyes was a hallucination. You went into your workshop. You did your work. And you came out with a clarity that is absolutely bulletproof. But look closer at the architecture of the trap. They didn't just coordinate a manipulation script to break your spirit. They ran a systematic financial ambush to trap you in modern-day slavery so you could never afford to buy your freedom. They wanted you bone-deep, exhausted, working for crumbs while they surveilled your timeline. Why? Because a broke anomaly is an exposed anomaly. True sovereignty is impossible if your bank account forces you to beg a parasite for a survival check. You do not need a louder voice. You need an untargetable wealth shield built in total obscurity to fund your permanent absence. But we will address the rules of moving like water next month. For today, focus on your internal frame. Let me be honest about what that work actually looks like, because it's not cinematic. It's not something that photographs well. It's messy. It's sitting still when every nerve in your body wants to bolt. It's letting the feelings you've been duct taping to the basement wall finally come upstairs and sit at the table. It's looking at your own face without rehearsing your expression first. It's asking yourself the ugly questions and this is the hard part, actually waiting for the answers, even when those answers show up wearing muddy boots and tracking filth across your clean floors. You've been doing that, and the people who genuinely see you, the ones with actual eyes, not just eyeballs, they feel the shift in your signal, and it's unsettling them the way a tuning fork unsettles a glass that's already cracking. There are people in your world who've been gripping you like a steering wheel, not out of love, out of need. They need your fuel, they need your attention, they need your compliance, they need you to stay predictable and small and conveniently positioned in their little ecosystem. And you've become the opposite. You've become something they can't steer. And when you lose control of something you thought was permanently under your thumb, that creates a very specific kind of panic. People who've been siphoning your energy are suddenly running on empty. The pipeline dried up and they're standing there shaking the hose going, "Wait, where'd the supply go? I'll tell you what you did. You didn't just walk away. You didn't just draw a line. You restructured something so deep underground that they can't even find the access point anymore. It's like you changed your entire operating system. It's like you moved to an address that doesn't appear on their GPS. It's like you're broadcasting on a frequency their receivers weren't built to detect. And they're standing outside, spinning in circles, going, how the hell did they do that? This is where the magic gets really fun. You're not just shielding yourself from other people's chaos. You're becoming something that naturally deflects it. The more you clean your own machinery, the less room there is for anybody else to dump their scrap metal in your yard. And that's what's causing the commotion. People who used to be able to get under your skin, who used to know exactly which wire to pull. They're reaching for switches that aren't connected to anything anymore. They're pushing buttons on a remote that doesn't control this TV, and the confusion on their faces, absolutely exquisite. Now, and this might sting a little for some folks, some of these people genuinely believed they were above you. They thought the scoreboard was settled. They were invested in your stuckness, not because they had a personal vendetta, but because your failure validated their entire operating theory about how the world works. People don't change. You can't outrun your zip code. Life deals the hand it deals, and you play it, and you lose gracefully. And you just flipped the entire table. You're dismantling their religion just by waking up in the morning and being undeniably, aggressively more. And people despise being proven wrong. Oh, they'll deny it. They'll dress it up. But the resentment, it leaks out of every pore. So they're talking. What happened? What did they find? They're building theories, conspiracy boards with red string and push pins. Maybe somebody helped. Maybe there's a connection. Maybe there's some manipulation happening that the rest of us just can't see. Anything. To avoid the simplest, most unbearable explanation, which is, you did it yourself, solo. You walked through your own wreckage, picked up the useful pieces, and built something nobody expected. And you didn't need a permission slip or a round of applause to do it. That's what makes you a spectacle, my little bonfire. That's what makes you inexplicable. Because most people, when they face what you've faced, they shatter. They go bitter. They turn into the kind of person who poisons the water supply because somebody poisoned theirs. And you went the other direction entirely. You got more you, not less. You walked into your own voltage and you came out glowing instead of fried. Nobody can explain it because nobody has seen it up close before. Not in someone they thought was done. Not in someone they'd already written off. And cognitive dissonance, let me tell you, is a deeply entertaining thing to watch. Let me go deeper into what your presence is doing to people right now. When you walk into a space, when you open your mouth, when you express a thought, there's a gravity to it. Not the heavy, suffocating kind. The kind that bends light. The kind that reorganizes the room. People feel like they're sitting across from someone who's been to the bottom of the ocean and swam back up with a souvenir. And that changes everything, because most people are still treading water. Most people haven't gone deeper than the kiddie pool of self-examination. And when they bump into someone who has, it throws a floodlight on every corner they've been avoiding. That's uncomfortable. That's wildly, unbearably uncomfortable. So they want to pull you back down. They want you confused again, searching again, stumbling around in the dark the way they are, because your clarity is a spotlight and it's pointed right at the mess they haven't cleaned up. Your groundedness is a direct challenge to every compromise they ever made, and they cannot, will not, sit with that. So they try to destabilize you, poke you, prod you, find the wobble. Here's the thing about people who've actually done the work, though. They still wobble. They're not made of marble. But they find their footing faster. You can confuse them for a moment. They'll be clear again before you finish your sentence. You can try to shrink them, but they've already measured themselves and they know the exact dimensions. You've become someone who can't be conned. Not because you think you've got all the answers, but because you've been lied to so many times, gaslit so thoroughly, manipulated so creatively that you can hear the opening notes of a corn the way a musician hears a song starting in the next room. You trust your gut now, not because it's infallible, because it got you here. That internal compass, the one a dozen people told you was busted, turned out to be the only instrument in the cockpit that was actually calibrated. And now you follow it like a pilot follows instruments in zero visibility. Not because you're sure, because it's the best tool you've got. Let me say something about cost. Because transformation isn't free. The bill always comes, and you've paid it. You've lost people. You've walked away from connections that felt like oxygen. You've disappointed people you didn't want to disappoint. You've been misunderstood, accused. You've stood alone in rooms where you wanted, needed somebody to stand next to you. You've done the hard thing on repeat, over and over, even when the easy thing was right there, warm and familiar and whispering, "Come back." And you did it quietly. No victory lap, no documentary crew, no motivational montage with a swelling orchestra. You did it because it was the only honest option, the only direction that didn't require you to shrink. And now people look at what you've become, and they want the recipe. They want the shortcut. They want to know how, but the answer to how is the answer nobody wants to hear. The answer is the work. The answer is the pain. The answer is the choices you made at 2 a.m. when nobody was watching and nobody would have blamed you for choosing differently. The answer is the nights that felt like they were going to swallow you whole, and the mornings you dragged yourself up anyway. The answer is the 1,000 tiny moments where quitting was available and you declined the invitation. And this is where I speak directly to you. You're feeling the weight of this right now, the solitude, the sense that this road only has room for one. And you're right, in a way. But that's not a punishment. That's an entrance fee. Not everyone gets summoned to this depth of growth. You did. Not because the universe thinks you're cute, because something in you proved you could handle it. Something in you said yes when everything else was screaming no. So keep going, my little enigma. Keep being the person nobody can decode. Keep moving in your own direction, on your own clock, by your own compass. Keep shutting out the static. Keep doing the work that doesn't photograph well, but reshapes everything. Because the people who are whispering about you, they're going to keep whispering. They're going to stay confused. They're going to keep constructing explanations that don't hold water. And you're going to keep expanding, keep outgrowing every container they try to put you in. Keep becoming more and more of the thing they never expected, and they won't understand. They'll always be 3 chapters behind. And that is perfectly, beautifully, hilariously fine. It's not your assignment to make them get it. It's not your obligation to translate yourself into a language they find comfortable. It's not your burden to flatten your complexity into something bite-sized. Your only job, your one and only job, is to keep going, to live this fully, authentically, and without a single apology in your pocket. Let the confusion be theirs. So, everyone's whispering. Nobody can explain what you just did. But everyone, every last fidgeting, curious, slightly terrified one of them, is talking about you. You started a mystery. You are a rare and unrepeatable phenomenon. And the mystery isn't getting solved anytime soon because you are not finished. You are not done becoming. This version of you, the one standing here right now, radiating something nobody has a name for, this is just the opening act. There's more, so much more, and the people trying to decode you today are going to be even more bewildered tomorrow. Because you're not slowing down, you're not settling, you're not shrinking to fit. You're going to keep rising, and they are going to keep standing there with their mouths open, and that is exactly how the joke was always supposed to land. You've been through the fire, and you came out carrying the only thing that actually matters, yourself. The knowledge that you can survive anything the universe throws at you like a bad punch. The certainty that you'll always find a way through the maze. The strength to stand alone and actually enjoy the acoustics. That's what nobody can explain. That's what's got them all buzzing. That's what they're trying to crack. Like a safe, they don't have the combination to. And they never will. Because you can't explain a phenomenon like this. You can only watch it happen. And they're watching. And it's absolutely wrecking their understanding of everything they thought they knew. So let them talk. Let them theorize. Let them sketch diagrams and hold committee meetings about what you've become. You just keep moving forward. Keep chasing the things that set you on fire. Keep following that internal signal, that instinct, that stubborn little compass needle that everybody told you was spinning wrong. Keep being unexplainable, because that's who you are. That's who you've always been. And now, finally, irreversibly, undeniably, everyone can see it now. Don't let me down, sunshine.